Hello and welcome to Everyday Matters, a show that tackles everyday real life issues that affect the Sikh community. We talk about things that you don't normally talk about, such as marriage, divorce, drug issues, and domestic violence and domestic abuse in the communities. First of all, I'd like to send my condolences out to the attack where 19 people died in Jalalabad. The Sikhs died as a minority in Afghanistan. I've been in Afghanistan in 2008, and the country was so nice and so hospitable, and all the communities, all the families were together and linked, and it's really tragic what happened to the Sikhs, and obviously it's tragic to what happens to all the Afghan people as well. We're all one overall. Okay. So I'd first like to say that. So today's topic is about marriage and divorce. We were concentrating on this last week. We were really concentrating on marriage counselling last week.
Yeah, and relationships.
And relationships. So today we're talking about marriage, divorce, and obviously remarrying as well, and the effects on the kids and the effects on the couple as well, and new marriages. So apologies today, it's a pre-recorded show. It's not a dial-in show due to unforeseen circumstances. But today our guest is Rani Kaur and Balvir Kaur Dillon as well.
Yes.
You're normally here with me anyway, so yeah, it's normal.
I'm what they call the resident guest plus presenter.
So I think last week we spoke about marriages, and it was about what makes a good marriage and the issues of a good marriage and stuff like that. Today we could focus on when marriages break down, and the next steps and what the flow would be on that sort of the philosophy. So from your point of view, what would you see as when you're saying that marriages is coming to a breakdown? What would you say would be the good step to?
I think personally, what happens is that it is very, very tough decision to find the right partner and get married, but the test actually starts then, because then you actually get to know each other, and it's not just knowing each other, it's knowing the family, and then you get to know people's behaviors in a different environment, right? The key thing is, if relationships are going well, and if for instance there are times when certain things are not happening, instead of being quiet about it, I think you need to raise it, because those little issues or little things will become mega issues over time. So my advice would be that if, for instance, you're not happy about something, it's good to raise it, but in a quiet mind. Don't raise it in a rage, because nobody will listen to you. But if you raise it in a quiet mind, when you're calmed down, don't raise it the time the issue's raised. And then you can actually talk about it. As we were discussing last week in relationships, what happens is that a lot of differences occur, and because there's two elements I think we found last week, Rani. One was that there's an element of control and there's an element of freedom. Yeah, and each of the partners are fighting over the kind of control concept and the freedom concept. So somebody will try and control what you do, your behaviors are, and you are trying to fight for your freedom and keeping your freedom that you might have had in your parents' house, or you might want more freedom. Those are couple of the issues that I think come up, which I think people need to sort of pay attention to, really. So control, don't try to control the other partner, yeah? And freedom, work on your freedom together.
Now I know we're talking about, this one's different, because last time it was divorce. We didn't want to talk about divorce. It's seen as such a
because it was a relationships,
black sort of subject.
Yeah.
Now, we hear all these arguments. What would you say, Riley, bringing you to it? What would you say would be grounds in our community, which is separate to different communities, where a UK community would have a different setup? But what would you say would be the grounds for getting a divorce?
I think for ground of as when we go for if anybody is going through the divorce, I think the main item is communication. They need to have a communication system open, and I think once people don't go into the communication or don't start having communications on both parts, and I think it's that's when the marriage will break down.
It's interesting.
Or it could be any situation, not only divorce or marriage breaking down. And it's
so good communications is actually paramount to any relationship.
Open communication is important.
Can I ask on your sort of front, what are you normally seeing as the grounds for divorce in the community? From your opinion, from your the people that you deal with and help, what would you say would be the main reasons that you see?
I think basically it's all the time it would be communication, and secondly it would be finance, and it's over because the partner needs the money to survive. If the other one of the partner is not working, And I think that
Do you find that a lot, that when people get married?
Oh, yeah.
But do you think, like, for example, in an English community, I know financial burden would be a stress, but in the Asian community, when you're getting through a marriage, an arranged marriage, or what have you, mostly arranged marriage, you're first brought about, oh, this boy or this girl's got this job, this boy's job's that job. But then when it's seen as the marriage, and when that person loses their job, for example, through redundancy, do you think the extra pressure is put on them because they were told that they were this person and earning this salary, and that wouldn't be seen in the English community?
I don't think that is the key issue, really. I think the key issue is when the person comes to the extended family, or just a couple getting married, and then introducing to open family to the, you know, your extended family. I think it's fine as long as, you know, everybody follows, you know, be happy to each other, and teach the other person who's just come into your family as a normal, you know, like their own daughter or something.
Yeah, accepting them. Yeah.
Accepting them is very important, and if they don't accept that, that's when the issues start, and one person will be sitting upstairs or the other person will be sitting with the family, whether you do that. Or the other thing I think does affect is when they get married, they don't have that if the other partner is working and one of the partner is not working, and then where obviously she can't go and ask her in-laws for money, so the partner will need to ask money from the partner.
Yep.
Rather than the other way around. So I think financially is very, very important, because it's just the small things, you know, they want to get these
Rani, what you're basically saying is quite key, because even the Relate research highlights that finance is the prime reason for divorce that's listed in relationship and communication. And the other one they highlighted was the lack of preparation for getting married, because people go with, you know, they think it's going to be a rose garden, or it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and then things don't work out, or things, you know, the celebrations kind of end, and then normality sets in, and then the hard sort of knocks come, and then a conflict starts happening. Sometimes people start bickering about different things.
But, you know, on finances, I just want to bring it back to you. You know, you say that finances are the reason why in Relate.
Yeah,
in our community, do you think it's always finances because we have this issue where we look at other people and what car they've got or where they're living? The other communities maybe wouldn't have, English communities wouldn't have that sort of. I know a lot
I know a
lot of people that from the English community that would be like, they're happy with what they've got, whether they're living in a small house, even a council house or what have you, or wherever. They're happy and they're content with that. But with our community, it's always, I don't know whether but our music's about it, high-end cars and this and that.
I should tell you, I think it's interesting you're saying that, because there is the concept of aspirations and high expectations, and I think it's from the expectations, because you actually come into a marriage, especially when you're kind of having a meeting or engagement system, and you actually aspire, we'll do this, we'll do that. When the reality sets in, you can't do it, so the expectations are set at a different place, and then you're kind of disappointed, aren't you, because those expectations are not being met.
But do you think the expectation you're saying is for the couple, but do you not think the family put the expectations on it as well?
Oh yeah.
For example, I know in-laws that will say, oh, he's, you know, their son-in-law, he's got this great job, he's doing this, he's on this much salary and stuff like that.
I think that exists across. It doesn't necessarily mean in a marriage relationship. I think every household tend to observe somebody else and say, well, they're doing well, I wish we were doing that. But I think with Guruji, what they say is be happy with what you got. Especially about the roti chopri, suki roti chopri. Don't look at somebody else's mansions. Just be happy with your
with what you've got.
small home. And I think that's the key thing, because sometimes that kind of aspirations are good, but I think sometimes you try to aspire to something and then be unhappy where you are. Well, one of the things in motivational techniques is they say be happy where you are, but aspire to be something else, and then don't say I'm going to be happy when I married, I'm going to be happy when I have children, I'm going to be happy when I have a 6-bedroom house, I'm going to be happy when I have a Mercedes, etc. Don't have that approach, right? Have a different approach. So in marriage, be happy that you've got a nice wife or a nice husband, and actually work on that relationship. Nothing happens unless you work on that relationship. And I think that's the issue, isn't it?
Yes.
You have to give 110% to a marriage,
of course,
and make it work. Because even when everything is going, you know, pear-shaped, you have to make it work.
No, you're saying I disagree with that completely. You said you don't have to make it work. You have to try to make things work.
Yeah.
You
But
can't,
then
in
still
some
it doesn't
situations,
work
you-
sometimes.
because that's the whole
that's where
sort of
you're coming
Indian
from.
mentality that you'd have, that you say, oh, it has to work, and parents say, you have
Well,
to.
the
Stuff
thing
like
is,
that.
if
But
you
you can avoid a lot of things, you know,
Yes.
by just moving away for a second or two, you know, just
having a break between the conflict.
just not to have conflict at the same time,
Yeah.
and just move away and have a little
the
quiet
whole
minute.
thing is about reconciliation, isn't it? Or actually trying to have an understanding, have compromise. Because if, for instance, if you both are at heads at each other, every little thing, nothing's going to work. You have to give. For instance, in my own situation, if my husband's hot-headed,
He can't
and
defend
he's not
himself now.
He's not hot-headed as I am.
Yeah.
I'm very hot-headed, right?
Yeah.
But when I'm sort of letting off steam or whatever, he'll just be quiet. Right, but I don't like him being quiet. I want him to answer me back, and I think Ronnie knows that as well. But one of the things is that for a good marriage,
Then you complain about people having affairs, yeah. I'm not saying anything, but
one of the things I would say is that when, for instance, you're having your say, you want somebody to listen. Yeah, because sometimes you just want somebody to listen, and when they listen, you want them actively listening, not just pretending they're listening, right? And then they can have their say. Well, I disagree with you, but disagreeing at that time won't work.
Yeah.
This is similar the other way. For instance, with any relationship, if they really believe in something and they think it's gone wrong, they want to air it. They want to let you know how they feel, etc. Let them have their say. Yeah, but don't raise issues at that point, because that's not the right time. It is actually very difficult not to answer back and say, hold on a minute, I don't agree with you, that wasn't right. But I think it's, if you sort of mellow back a bit, that allows you that space to think and reflect, and they have space to reflect and then say, yes, I said things.
But
Okay,
some
so it's just
people-
techniques. I think in marriage there are techniques you have to learn, but
sometimes you get someone that even
Some
if you take
people
your break,
don't.
they can't change. You can say that. You might live in that ideal world, but
I
you
think
might one that will not stop.
Right, one of the things is the world changes, right? And everybody changes. People pretend that they don't change. You do change. And I think one of the things that mustn't happen, you mustn't try to change. Like, it's an interesting scenario, because I think there was a couple going out, and then suddenly one person says, oh, I don't like the way they dress. Yeah, because they wanted to aspire, and yet the other person at a different place couldn't understand where this person was coming from. So can you see, you need to be actually working that relationship and keeping the communications open. Again, researchers said that 30% of marriages, or husband and wives, actually live together but don't speak to each other.
Which I find,
That is a high percentage, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's in our community. And you sort of think,
But that's
what the
not
hell's
only.
going
I
on
don't
there?
think that's only in our community. I think it's in general.
And they live
you
together.
say
Yeah.
that. No, our community will do this. The guy.
And I actually know somebody who they're living together, but they don't hardly speak to each other.
Yeah, so
But then what age group are them that you're saying that you're
They're older.
Yeah.
They're a lot older now.
Yeah.
But it's been like
And
10,
they just
15
stayed like
years.
that just because of the kids.
No, the kids are all, married and all settled down, but they're still in the same situation.
And they stay in the same house.
Yes.
Yeah. I think in marriage or any relationship, I think you have to work with each other. There are highlighted about control and freedom.
And I think also very importantly, you need to have a good friends. Don't give you bad advice.
Yeah.
You need to have a friend who can say, don't do that, or do that, if it's necessary. But friends it can be very good if you have a good friends. But you're the only one.
Yeah, friends actually, this is what they call Sangat. You need to have the right Sangat around you who will give you the guidance in order to save your marriage.
But what happens if you have family members that interfere? Like you'll have a bua or something like that. It's always nosy, will always give bad advice. But even though she's been in that same situation, you could have, I'm not just saying that, you could have a situation where she's been cheated on, she's been treated like this.
Yeah,
but you don't have to.
She's a family member. She's trying to boss the other girls.
No. But I think it's important to understand that Pua's input might be quite valid, but you need to take it on face value.
Yep.
Right. The key thing is Pua is actually coming from her own framework. She's coming from her own experience. She does not know what you're going through,
Yeah,
what your
everyone's
experience is,
different,
and
yeah.
also
All
your
situations are
behaviour
different.
and what you will tolerate and what you won't. I think it's very important. It is good if you can get the right advice, but I think majority of the time you have to look for a positive intention in marriage, because it's very easy to break a marriage. Now I know that my personally, there was many a time I would have actually said I would divorce my husband, and partly the majority of the time was because the extended family were causing so much a conflict.
Yep.
Yeah, that I'm actually laying it on the table that you will, in marriage, that's the testing time, right? It's easy when things are flowing. Yeah.
Yep.
The testing time of the strength of your marriage is when all the cards are down, and when you are ready to walk out that door and something stops you.
And I also think, Val saying that, like when people come from different country to get married to different, people in this country or perhaps abroad, and I think they totally have a different outlook of their life. And it's very, very
compounds,
difficult.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
it compounds.
I don't get that. And I know people are going to get upset by me saying this, but when you've got a couple, say for example, you've got a person from the UK and you've got a person from India,
Yeah.
and that person in the UK has been born here and he's bred here, he's been schooled here, just been that lifestyle of the television, the music, the nightlife, the pubs and all that stuff. And then you've got someone with that completely separate background,
That's
who
right.
can't speak English really that well at all, who comes here completely hard for it to interact with anybody, can be sat at home. How is that? And and there's no match between them, and then I don't understand how why these marriages go, and a lot of these marriages are just for passports.
Yeah.
I think
and then
the girl-
they are
and
the
the
one
girl
are
doesn't have
more
a-
going into divorce now.
But the girl doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
You'll have a girl, she's just thinking,
It could be the other way around.
could be- or a
but
boy.
They have their own agenda too.
a lot of the agenda is, a lot of
They
the times,
have their
I'm not
own
saying all of
agenda.
them, I'm just saying there's quite a high number of it, where they'll just say, I need my passport, I've got to go, and say, it's rare you're going to
I
go
have
someone to go
seen
to
it.
India and say no.
I have seen a couple of cases now that these type of marriages, and the girl came here, and after a year they wanted to go separate ways, and she says, well, I just wanted this so I can bring my boyfriend over.
Oh my goodness.
So
Well, at least
this
she's
is-
transparent.
Yeah, it was quite open
But then,
about it.
with these cases, was there different between, you'd say, the ages and the looks
No,
between
no,
them?
no,
They
no,
looked similar
the
sort of
age
age?
was very
And
same.
would you have saying there would have been a good match anyway?
Yes, yes.
So
But I was quite shocked because when she spoke to me, it was always like, calling me Auntie G all the time. So I never saw anything different, but I was really shocked about what happened.
And was she able to do that, get her boyfriend over and then...
Well, we don't know after
Yeah,
that,
she's left,
but
that's it.
she locked her
But
husband
on the other hand, I know couples who the young man has been educated in England and very, very professional, very down to earth, and he was actually fixed up by his parents when he was only about 6.
6 years old.
6 years old.
That's
They
pathetic,
betrothed
isn't it?
him, to this girl in India, and he actually honoured what his parents wanted.
Yeah.
And I think the situation was, but they're happily married. You see, so I think what it is about making
I
things
know,
work.
but you're saying that. Look, if an English
might
person,
be one in 100.
if an English person's watching this at home or anyone else,
Yeah.
they'll be throwing the control at the TV. Listen to what you're saying,
No,
because
but
it doesn't make.
But
you
then
know,
again, royal
But you
marriages
know, I
are
don't
arranged,
think
aren't
we
they?
can.
yeah,
I don't
royal
think-
marriages were so that the countries
Divorce.
could be closer united to stop wars and what have you.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
to-
that
to
was
be-
something else.
To be fixed up at 6 years old,
Yeah.
what you're saying to that
Yeah.
boy's future is, you just,
No, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. They're both happily married, very intellectual girl, fantastic family, and it's great. So it can
Maybe
work.
that's
Yeah.
It can
maybe
work.
that's been carved in. Like you're gonna get married.
yeah,
to
he's been
this
told since
person.
he was. When was he first
Yeah.
told?
So
When was he first
and
told?
he,
Conditioned.
Was he told at nursery or preschool? When
It's
was he
not
first
only for
told that he
one.
was?
It should be done to both, isn't it? So it would be an ideal.
I
Could be
think
an
that-
ideal
yeah.
marriage or something.
I think what I would be saying that being married or actually finding your right partner is very, very difficult. First of all, it's very important that you find your right partner. But when
But how,
in
okay,
marriage,
how are you going to find that right partner? Because you always say that, Andy, we got this person here.
Yeah.
They're perfect for you. Let's go. They know their family.
I
This,
suppose
that.
you, in an instinct, maybe common not habits, but common hobbies, and likes. I think what happens is sometimes you get married and the male or the female, the partners, they have different interests. So the key thing is to try to do events or activities together, or have common ground, even though I think it's not about spending 100% with your husband, because I don't believe in that.
They need, for my idea, the partner's got to have a life on their own. The girl
I think
with
you
a
need to
separate
be an
life.
individual.
I would, you don't want someone claustrophobic. You don't want someone that's stuck on. You've got no life apart from you.
I think where marriages, I think where
too.
marriages work is where you are given a degree. You do give each other a degree of freedom to actually follow your hobbies,
And
your
I
career,
think
and things like that.
saying
And that
that-
allows that, doesn't it?
And saying that, and also trusting the other person.
I think it's about respect and trust as well.
Those
because
two are very, very important.
yeah, because the key thing is if you respect
not
somebody and
questioning
trust
all
them,
the time.
yeah.
Why did you
Quizzing
go there?
people if they're late. That's the sort of things for a divorce, I'm afraid.
But you can say that, but then that's the whole thing. When you get an arranged marriage, you're going to meet this girl for the first time, or this boy. I don't want to be sexist. I'm going to say, you always.
The majority of the marriages are not arranged now.
You say that, but I know about 50-60% still are in
But
the
they
community
still
that I know.
they have a choice.
They have
I know,
choice
but
to
you say that.
yes
How
and no.
how long's the choice then? How long would you say that person's got to decide?
I don't know. Some people take years. Some people get
I've
engaged
never
in
heard
a
of
week.
years. I've
They
only
do.
heard-
For
They
6
do.
months, I think.
Yeah.
6 months or so.
No, there
I've
are
seen-
people who get.
I introduced somebody, and it came out really nice, and they're very happily married.
You'll
There
find
you go.
out later on when they start shouting and swearing at you down
Well,
the
I
phone.
hope not. Babaji, I hope it doesn't happen.
I hope it doesn't happen as
Then
well.
you'll wish you never did.
Yeah.
But you see, that's the thing with you're saying the arrangement 6 months. That normally never happens because you only get 3 or 4 dates, and that's it. It's bingo. It's time. Yes or no.
Well, I thought in this modern age, I think that things are different. I think when I was getting married, 30 or 40 years ago, whatever it was different. Yeah.
I think our community has gone really far beyond, because I have learned and seen that lots of young people, before they get married, if they live in this country, they go away for a holiday, just for, they meet quite a lot outside.
Yeah.
And so even if they still haven't worked out between them, then something is seriously wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then if it doesn't work out, the girl's family's going to say you brought shame on my family, and it's whole honour that they've destroyed.
Well,
and
I
stuff
think
like
a
that.
lot of parents I have seen, and I have witnesses to this, and I think they have agreed for them to do so,
Yeah.
to go out
Yeah, of course,
together.
I think generally parents are very flexible.
Now I
Yeah.
think it's the matter of choice. Either it's going to happen, or either it's going to be out of the community.
Yeah.
Marriages,
You're saying out of the community marriages, which is a good topic that we don't really speak about much. We've not actually brought that up last week, did we?
No, we haven't.
About out of the community. Do you now think, because it's 2018, that it's right or wrong to ask your kids to marry Sikh children, marry within the community, or how would you persuade them, or would you treat everybody the same?
I think this is just our opinion. I think it's up to really at the end of the day, it's up to them. But generally speaking, parents will generally encourage their children to marry within their own community, their own faith, because life is difficult enough without having further variances in your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you can actually work within your own parameters, they say it's easier, right?
Yeah.
However, I have found that a couple of Asian girls who are Sikh girls who have been divorced, the community actually shunted them, saying, "Oh, well, they're tarnished, they're married before," right? And they were such respectable girls, nothing was wrong with them, it wasn't their fault how the marriage collapsed, and things like that. And what was happening, the community were sort of giving third hand, fourth hand guys, older than them, had no career, these girls might have a PhD and things like that. Can you see? So they were really basically saying, well, you're not worth, which is a really terrible way of saying it, but this is what's happening. They were sort of giving the impression that this wonderful girl, with fantastic personality, wasn't worth, it's like weighing up an older guy. This guy will be okay. My divorced son will be okay for you. He's got 6 kids or something. Yeah. Well, no.
Oh, I've got 2
No.
kids. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
But can you see what I'm trying to say? But then you see, she actually did marry outside. Yeah.
She had to.
Yeah, because the people our community were rejecting her.
Yep.
And making her self-esteem and her confidence was being knocked. Why? She doesn't need that. She is an individual. Yeah. She's God's person. Yeah. God-fearing person. And she hasn't done nothing wrong, so why should she be punished like that? So now she's married a white counterpart, fantastic gentleman, yeah, who treats her like the queen. Now, if you sort of start comparing and say, oh, well, if you actually come from a real faith angle and say Sikhs marry within Sikhs, but if you look at the real Sikh philosophy and the faith, it actually says that we are all children under God. We are all related in one way. So even the caste system is not
It doesn't
considered.
exist. But then
And yet the caste system is validated,
So
isn't it?
if that's the case, why do we have these arguments where you have thugs coming around the Gurdwaras, people coming around the Gurdwaras to stop Sikh weddings?
Well, yeah, that's
Well,
another
I think
debate.
that's another debate.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
major
another
debate.
That I personally, again, I'm going to give this in my own personal view, I think is their own agenda,
Yep.
because they're not really looking at what Gurbani is saying. They're actually
I
playing
don't
a
think they're
political
following
story.
it, because I think Guru Nanak Ji said
Yeah.
that, we should mix together,
Yeah.
live together. But I don't think we are doing
No, but they're
that.
following a political agenda or suddenly, I think the key thing is,
Number one, I think children don't want to go to the Gurdwara, if that is the key issue.
But that's really wrong, because, say for example, I'm Sikh, but I could marry a girl and get married in the church, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And nobody will tell you to
they
change your name.
They wouldn't. Yeah. They won't change your name. We used to be able to do that. Yeah. But I think it's good if a Sikh girl's marrying an English guy or a black guy, whatever they're marrying, and that guy's saying, I don't want to do just a church wedding. I want to respect your faith.
Yeah,
and
and
do a
have an Indian
Gurdwara
wedding as well.
and put a turban on and try and learn about Sikhism as well. It's not what I don't agree with is someone just putting the turban on, going there
But I
and having some
disagree
beers
with that.
afterwards. But then that's,
I disagree with that, because
Okay.
how many times would you call yourself Singh or Kaur? I
I'm
have
not
a big
practicing
issue
Sikh.
then. Yeah. So if you're not, and then how do you expect the other person to do exactly the same?
oh,
So
you're on about
from-
me saying that I should get them to learn about the
No,
faith
no,
before
no.
they go to the
They
Gurdwara.
want, what they're saying is that they need to be, they should have that name and use that name as well as follow the faith.
Yeah.
And I think you can't even get your own kids to do that, and you want somebody else to come into our community
From
to do
another,
that.
faith.
And then they are respecting us, they're respecting our culture, they're respecting our religion, and they want to get married as a in Sikhism. But then we are telling them, no, don't do that, because
Yeah.
we don't want you to do that.
I think
And I think that is not making, our population is not growing according to that. And if you look, the birth rate is dropping in the Sikh community rather than any other community.
Really?
Yes.
I think that most Sikh families just stick to 2, and that's sort of what the
2.5.
2.5.
Now
the limit
it's
is.
gone 1,
But
I
now,
think.
you were saying about the Sikh community
Yeah.
and why we're and weddings. We have to look at the fact that when a lot of people, because I'm not a practicing Sikh, but I always say there's 3 types of people: believers, non-believers, and hypocrites. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no point me lying and saying but there's so many people that go to weddings nowadays and they're getting married that day and they're drunk.
Yeah.
That we're sitting there drunk, and that people sitting in the hall will be drunk from the pre-wedding party.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've still got to think that why ain't these people that are coming around to stop these weddings between 2 people
Yeah.
stopping and checking, breathalyzing people coming into the Gurdwara, breathalyzing the groom if you want to take that extreme.
Really, they
breathalyzing
shouldn't
the
be coming
Sangat.
on the premises with alcohol consumption. They shouldn't be.
Yeah, they shouldn't be
But
from
they
the
do,
night
don't
before.
they?
They're going to be
Yeah.
over the limit from the night before and still have it in their system.
Yeah, I think the key thing for the Sikh Bani is that when you take your vows, you're actually it's not just you and your husband or the wife. It's you're actually making a vow with Guruji, yeah, and God's is the third person in there, yeah.
Yep.
And that's why every time you try your behavior should always have that element of fear that Guruji is watching. Yeah, so our behavior needs to be in a good sense.
I think sometimes I suppose people do believe that, and I think they do. But if one person respects that and the other person doesn't, and that will automatically
cause conflict,
cause lot of conflicts in the family.
It was interesting. I was actually listening to Dalai Lama. I love listening to Dalai Lama, and Dalai Lama. And there's sorry, I have to bring Dalai Lama.
Always, I hear something about him every day.
We're gonna have a Dalai Lama show, I think, on his philosophy. Right.
Maybe you could ask him what's happening in my mind.
Yeah, he did. You know what he said was interesting. He goes,
he just ignored it all.
No, Dalai Lama actually said, he was talking about marriages. He goes, because he doesn't get married in celibacy, and basically he made a comment. He goes, celebration of a marriage is a preparation for divorce. Now that is an interesting comment from a spiritual leader.
But that can be anything. It could
Yeah,
be
it's like,
the life or the
celebrating. So if you over celebrate a marriage, you're actually changing this wonderful
circle.
tinsel and glory glass, whatever, champagne, whatever, and suddenly it becomes normality.
Yeah.
The thing is, that's what he says. But the other thing was, another gentleman was on there, was called Dadaji, right? I'm thinking from the Brahma Kumaris, right?
Yeah.
And he said three things which I thought was fantastic around marriage. One was, he goes, you fall in love, yeah. They say, oh, you are fallen in love. Yeah, that concept. But he goes, the reality is, he goes, there's really three types of love. And one, he said, one love says, if you do this for me, then I will love you. So this is like a condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Condition.
If you do this for me, I will love you. So it's a condition. And the other one is, because of this and this, I will love you. Yeah, again, another condition.
Condition.
But the one that really should be in spite, the one was in spite of. Yeah, in spite of all your faults, Jatinda, your partner will love you. Yeah,
Never
that is.
me. I had no faults. I was perfect.
Can you see?
My faults at all. It wasn't my fault.
Issue is. That's where the
It wasn't my
issue is.
fault.
Yeah, because everybody has faults. Yeah.
Not me.
We're not sort of perfect,
Yep.
and I think that's where we are. But the thing was that he highlighted something which it didn't really landed with me. So what it is, in spite of all your faults, I still love you, and I respect you, and I will be with you forever.
Yes.
That is the sort of conditioning or the respect that will actually make your marriage work. Because you're not trying to change somebody. You're not. The other one is, you're not trying to crush somebody or suffocate them. Because one of the things I find in marriages, you find you're being suffocated.
Yeah.
And it might be a strong word, but that's how it feels.
But you just said, I'll respect you no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what happens if, again, I'll come back to arranged marriage, what happens if that person is completely different and it should never have been set up in the first place?
I
there
think
are
you
marriages
need to
like that.
train that person.
You can't change somebody.
No.
You can change them falsely. They can
show
pretend
them.
outwardly, but they'll still go back after a few days.
I disagree with that. I think it's really, a negative person, you can try to get them to change. Sometimes we keep repeating with this person again and again and again. And I mean, when you think this person is never going to change that, and then you take a next step. But until you really tried so hard to example, like get them to do something different and let them have another thinking period, and then if they're still not be able to change their well-being or to change to better life, you can't do any more than that.
You can.
Then there is
basically, it's influence, isn't it? You can influence. Actually, a thought has just come to my mind. One of the influences they say is, when they say the mother has the power to mold the family. They actually use the concept of the mother. They don't use the wife. They say the mother has a concept to hold the family together and build strong relationships. And they were saying it's the process of how they prepare the food. Yeah. So when you prepare the food with prayers, and goodwill and good intentions, those are transferred to the family. And the other one is about eating. Those that eat together stay together.
I do know about the eating one. It's important that you have
I'm
a meal
not
together.
so sure.
Yeah, no, they're eating together. No, one of the things is ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਖਾਣਾ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, you know, you put it, and ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਖਾਣੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ it's like amrit, isn't it? You actually put in blessings into that food, and then you feed your family.
Fast food with KFC.
That doesn't work. The reason the fast food doesn't work is because the people who are preparing the food are kind of focused on money. Yeah, they're focused on different things. The cleanliness, the suchum might not be there. You're actually getting the influences of those other people. Yeah. So what they say is best to eat in a marriage. Really, you should be preparing food for each other, working in the kitchen together. One of the things we discussed was who does the cooking, and you should be doing the cooking.
But it's hard.
Men should do the cooking.
If I'm a vegetarian and my ex-partner would be a meat eater and stuff like, it's just. So you don't want to prepare it together,
Then think. Can you see those things? If you have a number of things that are splitting you, then it becomes more difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, talk about splitting. We've always carried on about marriage so much. Divorce, which we don't talk about. Now, in your eyes, how hard or easy would you say going through the people that you know going through divorces with kids, for example?
I think it's really bad. It's very hard for people who are going through divorce. And sometimes it takes a lot longer, perhaps, for them to get their divorce, finished from start to finish. And I know somebody else is going through a divorce at the moment, and it's a very close family friend.
Yeah.
And it's like one partner is agreeing, and the other partner keeps on changing things just because they don't want to.
Prolonging the situation, isn't it?
Is that because they don't want to get divorced?
No, they do. They want to get divorced.
To.
And also, one other thing that I wanted to say, this is very important, especially when men in their 40s and 50s, when they're getting divorced, they're looking for somebody older because they haven't found that love in the parents.
What do you mean they're looking for someone older?
It's like...
you're saying a 40-year-old man would be looking for a 50, 60-year-old woman?
Yes.
I never heard that.
I haven't seen
I think you're dreaming here.
No. It has.
Why? Because they don't have responsibilities, or what is it?
No, it's not that. And I think it's a lot of studies say, you probably have, I can't name any of the study, but I have read an article that young men tend to fall with older women because they feel that they feel more secure.
See, through the people that I know, I've never heard that.
Well, have
you got something new.
Yeah, and it's because they when they were young, this is what it is.
Yeah.
When they were young children, and they saw their mom and dad fighting a lot, and then that actually split them to do their own things. And as they got on, older, and they got married, they had the same age companionship partner. And then when they decided to have a divorce, it was only the male dominated said that I want a divorce. So they had a divorce, and then he went out with older women. So he found older women. Maybe he didn't have that love when he was young from his family, his parents, as they were fighting themselves.
Yeah.
And now he's chasing the older ladies, and he's actually going with them, having a good. He's changed his personality as well.
Yeah.
I think you're on about the kids, and people say, "Don't get divorced. Please stick together."
Well, the thing is,
but then I know you're going to have a dip. But the thing is, you have to get to a point, and I don't care what other people say, because someone told me, you just care. All you got to concentrate is your kids, and that's your family. Yeah,
I think it is important,
and not what other people do.
Yeah.
But you got to look. If your kids are being affected, if you got kids that are pulling their hair out, seeing the shouting, seeing the arguments all the time, then you got to think: is it really worth me carrying on, saving my face, and showing that I'm happily married and all that, and have your daughter pulling her hair out because an ex will be arguing and shouting with you, and and emotionally affected by that.
Yeah.
And running when arguments happen, running into other rooms and crying. Yeah. People don't see that. People just say it doesn't matter. Stick together for the family. Forget about the family. It means nothing to me. Yeah, you got to do what's right for your kids.
oppositely, women tend to look after the families mostly if the man, if there is a divorce in the
divorce, yeah.
family. And I think women tend to pick up all the pieces, whatever is left for them. And the children becomes their responsibility, even though it's a split, but it doesn't
But
happen.
you say that, this split thing, it annoys me, because for a man that's going through a divorce for the kids, the courts are always mostly on the woman's side.
Not really, not
So,
always.
well, okay, I'll give you an example of trying to apply for 50-50 access for a child. That's after you're going for divorce. You could go to barristers, and I know for first case you'll have a barrister. The barrister say it's highly unlikely. Even though you get your kid two days, 2 nights a week, it's highly unlikely you're going to get that. It's very rare unless you both agree. And the woman will, or the ex-wife, unless she's really at that point where she understands for the kid's safety, for the kid, not the kid's development, they want to, because people need to understand, and women and men need to understand, if you get divorced, if that's you two breaking up, the kids ain't breaking up. Yeah. You got to think about the kids first.
Suffers most.
No, you can't see again. You can't say suffer most, because that's
The kid suffers.
in a divorce.
Yes.
They don't have to suffer. But that's an Asian mentality, and the kids suffer. What about the kids suffering when you've got shouting and abuse in a household, and a kid sees that, like you're saying, are they affected? At later stages, they'll be affected by family. But so the kids might suffer a little bit for going through divorce, but they shouldn't suffer if both parents realise that the kids need access to both parents. They need a mum and a dad. No matter what the family's like. You might have a family where they'll blame the boy for the divorce, and they've got kids, and they won't let the kids see the kid. The kids see the father. And it's going to affect the kids. And that's just affecting the kids. It's not affecting anybody else.
But there are men who have actually divorced a lot of women, and they've taken the kids, and they won't let the wife have the
But how
kids
would that happen?
because they are saying they will try and do anything to
No,
But you need
I actually
evidence
say
like
mental,
alcohol abuse, mental abuse, stuff like that. Yeah,
mental.
there's cases there that you will have. But
It could be the other way around.
95% of the chance, any man getting divorced for that. Yeah, and another thing I want to say for men and women, but probably for men that are getting divorced, you'll have women that will try to blackmail you. You're not going to get the kids. You'll see them in a contact centre and stuff like that. They'll play the tricks. They'll say you're a drinker or a druggie or anything like that. It ain't going to work. What you need to stay focused on is look at your reading. Make sure if you can afford to get that, or look online, like Fathers for Justice and stuff like that. The normal rights that a man that hasn't got a criminal record of violence or anything like that, or anything like that, is normally they will get at least minimum 1 day during the week and a weekend if they live locally. That they can get, and they can get even more access if they keep trying to go through the way. I mean, the best way is trying to get that sort of communication together between the parents, so you're not wasting thousands of pounds in a court, because you still got to remember that they're kids. But there will be a partner that won't agree to that. But any person, or a man or woman that's struggling, thinking, what do I do? I'm not going to see my kids that are in the bottom of that, facing that how. You got to think the justice system should be there for you, and just keep going back and back. And it's £250 to raise a case if you're going to represent yourself. Keep doing it.
But the thing,
I suppose that's a good idea.
I think there are situations, well, Jacinda's saying it, and what Ronnie, you're saying, but I think the key thing is maybe that you ask the children, because I personally think that you need to work it out. And you keep saying, oh, well, one marriages don't work, but I think if you got differences, have amicable differences and work it on those bases, and don't work it in a conflict basis, because conflict's not going to help anybody. And if you have conflict, now one of the things I would say,
you've got to rethink how you
if you have conflict,
Yep.
the families will your family will support you, and it'll raise your temper and arouse you, and she's doing this, you shouldn't be, whatever. On the other side, the other family will supporting her.
Yep.
So instead of just you two, then it becomes a group thing, a conflict against each other, which is not good for the children. It's not good for your mental state, or her mental state, or anybody's mental state. I think the key thing is, if you can actually sit in a mediation meeting, and say these are the issues, these are the ones we discuss, or even relationship counsellor, you'll save yourself a lot of money, because at the end of the day, all you're doing is feeding the solicitors, feeding the courts with the money, right? If you know, right, your relationship isn't working, try to have an amicable one, right? Because it'll be much better, and then become friends. Because the thing is, if you in constant conflict, you're going to have those issues all the way, because they'll feel hurt, grieved, abused, mentally abused. They'll feel like whether it's a man or a woman, they'll feel that, and they'll keep going back to that story.
I think I went on a separated parents information program that the courts make you do if you're applying for child access. One thing you got to learn from that was really good is that you got to treat your relationship with your ex-partner as a business relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget about the emotions. You want what's best for the kids. Don't care about. She could be saying the nastiest things to you behind your back, saying this, you're that, and to the kids. You just got to keep calm. Remember that you're just there for the kids. What you want is your access. How you're going to get your access, and fight with that without taking the emotions away from it. And unfortunately, this is the society that we live in, that we can't have that.
But the thing is, I mean, one of the reasons for discussing marriage and perhaps even prevention is actually understanding what are the issues. When you get married, these issues will come up, right?
Yes.
So for God's sake, prepare for them. Yeah? Yeah, if you
In the
know,
early stage.
yeah, and prepare for them. If you know that these conflicts will come up, what is it we're going to do in that situation? That will actually alleviate majority of the issues that will come up, and you'll have a more amicable relationship. But where things don't work, I said that last time, if for instance things that you've tried everything and it doesn't work, then try to have amicable divorce.
An amicable, yeah. And that's the importance. What I'm trying to say to families as well, and that's, you've got the whole peer pressure, and you want to get it back together, please. You'll have uncles, aunties,
Someone might be saying get it back. Some actually, I'm sorry to say this, some families want to, the minute you marry, they just want to break you up.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Because they didn't agree to the marriage in the first place.
Yeah.
Or
Maybe they didn't want to see you happy.
Or
would you say
jealousy.
family? Would you say the parents are trying to get the kids divorced before?
Not necessarily
Not
the parents.
parents.
It's usually slightly different, but the parents will be influenced. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think usually the parent. I don't think it's the parents primarily. There is influences in the community that will say something, and they'll dig up the dirt, which
Yep.
might not be dirt, or Lord masala lucky, make it even more difficult. But they'll say things about somebody in order to influence somebody's relationship and make it worse. One of the things I'm going to say, and I'll from my own experience, there have been occasions when I felt I would divorce my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And the reason for it was because they always said that I was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they would gang up on me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I was quite a professional person then. I'm a professional person now. I will actually observe and see what the behaviors and what they're trying to do.
Yep.
But one time I actually said, okay, fine. You had your son. It took you 8 years to have your son. He's precious to you. You keep him. I don't need your son. I'll divorce him. Then they changed their tune.
Oh yeah. They called their bluff.
No, I didn't call that bluff. I meant it.
Yeah. You really
I
meant it. Yeah.
I meant it because I was sick and tired of people. Right? You can do 101 things for them.
Yep.
They wouldn't do a thing for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when you wanted your husband to support you, they felt that he needs to support his mom and dad because he's the elder.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I'm actually, now Ronnie knows,
Yes.
right, my story. But the thing is, what I'm saying, there would have been many a time I would have walked out.
Yep.
Yeah. But I had to reflect on things before I walked out. Yeah. And I had to look at the children, I had to look at the big picture. But I wanted things changed. And when things changed and things started to work out, then okay. And the thing is, it's about working together. It's saying,
Yeah.
I will tolerate this, but I won't tolerate
Going
that.
back to the communications again, you
It's
got
the
to
communication.
Like I said,
you
And
have to
also-
have a good communication
And also,
system.
I think even now, it doesn't matter. Don't tell me that, this situation happens when you're 19. It happens when you're 20. It happens when you're 21. It happens
Yeah.
when you're 22. It happens.
It can happen
all the
any
time.
age.
Yeah.
It
So what
can
I'm saying,
happen at
out
any
there,
age.
in life, you have to actually open the communication. If you feel upset about something, you need to bring it to the table.
Yes.
And then you have to decide what will you tolerate and what won't you tolerate.
Yep.
Because you have to respect yourself. If you don't respect yourself, nobody else
Yeah,
is
then you
going to
have no
respect
life, yeah.
you. And shall I tell you, there are many women out there who are in abusive marriages, and then they still make their roti and all this. And I thought, why? I wouldn't be making a roti for that person.
But then that
I
woman, would you say it again?
Can you see
Which
how
I know
bad
you're
that
saying
is?
get together and all this stuff, and you probably think you're talking about marriage, I'm talking about divorce here.
Yeah.
But I would say to anybody, you've got to have that izzat, they call it, isn't it? The pride, the
It
self
just-
pride.
it just- yeah.
That's enough. That's it. Yeah. And I've got to do what's right for me and the kids and what have you. and leave. So I'm not telling every woman that's watching this to get divorced now, but I'm saying in situations, if you're getting abused physically or mentally,
don't tolerate
it. You've got the police, you've got other services that can help you, and you've got to do the right thing.
First of all, I think every person out there who raises their hand on their wife, or the wife raises a hand on the husband, need to understand that it is an offence. And you can be sent to jail for that.
And it's degrading as well.
Degrading. I think that people need to understand that. That's one thing. The other one is mental abuse. Mental abuse in our community is absolutely atrocious, and this is grounds for divorce. Mental abuse, but none of the women, or it's usually women actually, none of the women are exercising their rights.
But it's, again, I'll give an example where you can have a police can get involved with a new law called coercive control. When you have a partner, such as a woman, for example,
they won't do anything because it's a domestic.
No. Coercive control is a new law now, and you can get charged with that. So that coercive control will be they'll be looking at your text messages, say, you got to get back at this time. If you don't come back at this time, you're not going to do this. Don't go here. Don't go there. There's a little bit you can do. Obviously, that's not coercive control, but when you're doing it day in, day out, where are you here and where are you there? You can't go with this person, you can't go with that person. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. The police will get log of it, and if it's strong enough, they will charge you as a partner with coercive control. I know situations where you'll have a woman that will be completely controlling of their husband, and that's, that's illegal action.
Well, I know this lady. Let me tell you about this lady. She's about 73. She was married when she was very young. She's not very educated, but she's never been to college or anything. She's desperately to learn English now. She's a Punjabi woman, and she was telling me that her husband took the kids away from her, and she's never seen the kids. And she was abused by the family, and she's lived here, there, different places, but she's very religious. She's 100, she's done as a she's very religious in Sikhism, and she says Vaheguru is actually helped me to get this far. And when the kids were going to get married, after when they were grown up, and he told the kids, go and see your mom now, I don't want to get you married. So she got her brothers to help her to get her kids married. And her husband didn't help her with the kids then. But when they were growing up, he took away.
And then when it comes to the financial bit,
he sent it back to the mother. And now the kids are now getting to know the mother, and they have got a very good contact, and they come and see her. And she says, I'm really happy they're coming to see me, but I don't want them to come and live with me now. Because she says, I don't think I'll be able to deal with the problems.
No, I think that's right for her not to, because she won't have the capacity to deal with it either.
And she's, she still does everything, and how she looks after herself. And I was really amazed. She was telling me, she says, I cook for myself, but I cook every day. She says, I've cooked
It's just a shame that, because she didn't learn English, she didn't have anyone to help legally to get.
It's not just the English. I think there are people who are well qualified, but they kind of get stuck in a rut. And they feel they're stuck in that relationship, and there's no avenue or no choice. Or people perceive to give no choice.
But that woman really gave me something to think,
about.
And I thought, wow.
One of the things I do want to raise is that we're talking about divorce. Obviously, we're talking about how we can avoid it if you actually look at all the signs that are happening, and you can try and resolve things, because there will be time in your life that you're sort of aiming for divorce, and something will happen, or you actually work the relationship out, and it might last another 10 years or whatever. There is a scenario now that generally speaking, women will stay with their husband despite the abuse, despite the conflicts, all the way through their life until the kids have all grown up and flee the nest, etc. And then they decide they're still getting that kind of abuse, then they decide, I'm not taking this anymore, I'm going to have a divorce. And the community think, where 60, the hell is she? Well, she's 65 and she wants a divorce, and she has every right to have a divorce if she wants a divorce. But what I'm saying is, then people don't understand that this particular person or people have gone through hell and back. They kept their vows of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. They've done everything for the children, they've done everything for the husband, their extended family, whatever, and they're saying, now it's time for me. And good luck to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would encourage more elderly women to divorce.
You're going to get everyone coming in. All the uncles are going to come in here complaining.
If those guys are not respecting their wives who have spent all their life cooking, cleaning, respecting them, and they give them abuse and not the little bit of time and respect they need, which is what called gristi, then I think they have every right to say to the guy and say, I'm sorry, I've given you 40 years of my life. I think about time I had mine.
I think these people who are sitting in the Gurdwara, I mean, I'm not only saying Gurdwara or Mandir or Masjid, wherever they're sitting. Religious places. And I think if they're sitting in there doing all these learning about
Guruji's cell.
And then they're not preaching themselves.
I think that's very important what you're saying, Rani, because it is important. Barney does not say exploit your wife.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, or your husband. Barney says respect your wife, and things like that. So therefore, if you're not doing that, then your what they call spiritual capital will be eroded because you're not actually following through.
Yeah. I think it's very important to respect.
I think the other thing is about, when we keep saying about children, I think children do have a voice. Even when they're young, they will actually give you ideas as to whether you guys should stay together or not.
Really? How young would you say? Above 11 maybe they've got the choice.
No,
In court, they only
I
listen to
think
children when they're
children are
11.
growing up very fast
I think
now.
they're even younger than that.
Yeah,
I think
they
even
start
younger
saying
than that.
that.
But I'm taking the stance that try to avoid divorce because it's ugly.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Try to avoid it. Try to avoid solicitors. If you can have amicable agreements, remain friends, etc., where you have not restricted access. If you can, try and go down that route.
Yep.
Yeah. But if you do go the whole hog, you know what? Then people are going to play dirty and then make your life hell, and you'll be in court for 10 years.
Yeah, and you're talking 20.
I think
30
both
grand.
partner needs to grow up really in a marriage to find out. Otherwise, we be paying so much to the courts.
Yeah.
And I think that's the major issue. You'll be
Yeah,
lost.
because they say the only winners really
Are them? They're
solicitors
laughing.
and the judges.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 20, 30 grand if you're going through courts just to get to the finance stages, and children are on top.
Yeah, and I think, and the other one is, we're sort of saying, what are the reasons for divorce?
Yep.
Relate actually highlights X, Y, and Z with finances, lack of preparation, and there was a couple of others, wasn't it? Excessive arguing, unreasonable behavior, heavy drinking, drug take, assault, lack of equality, and things like that.
And also, I don't think they should have like a big marriages, splashing out big money, people how they spend out, and then they cry about it after.
Yeah, when things go pear-shaped.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is difficult. What I would be saying to anybody watching, if you're having a difficult relationship, for God's sake, make some time for each other to sort it out. Yeah, invest that time. Yeah, that time invested will be worth done. Yeah, but if you can't, then obviously you have to go through divorce.
Yeah.
And so that's normally the last case scenario, which you really don't want to do.
Don't want to do.
But again, like we were saying, domestic violence, physical violence, coercive control, if it's affecting the children, it's fine all coming from this perspective that everyone wants a marriage to work. No one goes into marriage thinking you're going to get divorced, But if you have to, because you've got to think about your mental abuse. If you've got to think about your kids, if you've got no life yourself because of that other partner, then you've got to make that move, and then you've got to really say, I don't care what my family say, what other families say. You got to do what's right, because they don't know. You're not in that situation.
You've got to own it and be responsible for it.
Because even you said you can't blame other people.
No, you can't.
You got to look. This was my fault. I should have been stronger this day, stronger that way. I should have fought before I got
your mistakes.
Before you got that. And like you're saying, even about we're talking about after you've gone through that stage, because they on the parenting implementation program, they're saying it normally takes 2 years for someone who's going through divorce to actually come out the other side. From the first split up to going through the divorce and actually.
It takes a lot longer.
No, 2 years before you're mentally ready to move on and think, okay, I'm going to not get married again, but find someone.
But giving other person a chance, like give them 6 months, okay, you need to improve now. If we've done all these
try
things.
separation and things like that if it works.
Have a little breaks, don't finish it. Just have a little break.
But you can say that. You can say, you can try. I always, by all means, try your separation. That's perfectly fine. But you've still got to be strong enough to know if you separate for a week or a few weeks or and it's still the same old stuff that you're coming back to, same old hell,
Then
forget it.
something, yeah.
You've got to keep thinking about yourself. You don't be that person that that leaves at the age of 50 once your kids have got married. Then you've got
Yeah.
no life left. You've wasted your youth. You're not going to get that back.
No, you're not.
Yeah, and your kids ain't going to say thank you for it. The kids say, why did you put me through this hell anyway?
Yeah, and the kids will probably say, well, you didn't have to do it for me.
Yeah.
The kids these days will say, you should have done what you needed, not think about us, things like that. They're quite upfront.
Yeah,
But
no,
I think generally speaking, marriage and divorce and remarriage, it's if you
it's
can get it
a
right the
big
first
topic.
time, just do it. But it's very difficult. I mean, we're just giving a taste of what we feel. I'm sure there's many of you out there who are thinking, well, that's not right, that's not right. But I think they mustn't be silent. If they're not happy in their relationship, they must say it.
Discuss it.
And also, marriage again, when you're going through divorce, is it really vital that you'd say, again, with people who get frowned upon, they are not married? Like, I was just bringing one thing. Say, for example, if you're divorced now and you go and see another partner, bringing that partner to family functions, how awkward would that be nowadays? I mean, you're very rare to see that, where you bring, oh, this is my partner, but not my husband or wife that I'm bringing to a family function, and how in our communities, because other English communities wouldn't have that
Yeah.
problem, but in our community it'd be seen as a
Yeah.
really awful thing to do.
Yeah, PhD.
Yeah, I know, but then how do we get away from that sort of mentality? And when will it change? I know it will change with our generation now, my generation, and
I
but if
think people will change slowly, but very slowly, especially in our community.
okay. Well, I think we're just run out of time now. But like I say, sorry this was a dial-in show, this one, because we were unforeseen circumstances. But I'd like to thank you both for your time and your effort on this show. And I hope we've helped some people there listening about marriage. It's not all hell what we're talking about,
No,
but
no.
we just talk about you've got to take responsibility for your life, because every day matters. It's
about them.
it's your life, and you've got to take control about it no matter what anybody else says. It's your life, and enjoy your life. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week, Tuesday, 6 till 7, live again. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.
Because of the